We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome, I'm Samantha Stone, your host for Authenticity in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. I'm so glad that you've joined me for this first episode. In each episode, we're going to tackle a very small but important piece of how we need to change as business leaders how we communicate, and to ensure that we're using these exciting new technologies now available because of artificial intelligence to do better and better things, to not repeat the mistakes of how we've adopted technology in the past, and to recognize that not only are we as businesses and brands and vendors and suppliers using these technologies, but so too are our customers and our buyers. And so we need to find ways to recognize the best use cases for artificial intelligence so that we can make sure to adopt it in ways that improve and enhance our relationship with our customers and drive true, trusting, loyal, long-term partnerships with them. In each episode, I'm going to break down a small but important piece of that puzzle with you. Today, we're going to talk about something really, really challenging for all of our businesses, and that's data bias. The reason that's so challenging is that when we adopt artificial intelligence systems, data is the foundation by which we train those systems how we expect it to interact. And while those systems will change and adapt over time, the data we feed them will decide and inform how effective those artificial intelligence-based systems are at improving relationships and driving the type of experience that we want. Today, we're going to tackle the issue of confirmation bias in our data. Confirmation bias happens when we only serve individuals information, experiences, or other types of interactions based on something they have liked in the past. Now, don't get me wrong. It's wonderful when we have had a positive interaction with the customer in the past, and we use their positive reaction to inform the next one that we have together. For example, if a visitor to our website clicked on and downloaded several pieces of content from our library, and all of those pieces of content were thematic, perhaps, for example, they were all related to the topic of security, just to make this an example that we can all relate to. We might infer that this person cares deeply about security. Well, that's great. That's an important thing for us to understand. The problem happens when we assume that they only care about security, and it limits our ability to build a relationship with that individual. Confirmation bias happens when we make that assumption, and every time we interact with that customer, we only serve them content related to the interaction that was positive. We have to find ways instead to continue to learn about that person and what might be important to them. And we have to recognize security is important, but so too might be other topics. I'll give you a very practical example. For those of you who have Netflix subscriptions, you probably have a different profile than other people who reside in the same home as you and use a similar account. For myself, my husband has an account, I have an account, and 3 out of my 4 children have their own accounts. And when you log into Netflix, depending on which of those profiles you select, you get very different library of things the system is recommending we watch. And that's wonderful and an incredible tool. But if Netflix only showed me shows exactly like those I've watched before, I would likely get very bored of the interaction that I'm having and frustrated with the experience and not realize the depth of content that was available. And that might encourage me to subscribe to another service. And that's why Netflix has done a very important thing to avoid confirmation bias. Yes, they show you content like you've observed before, but they also show you content that is trending in general or adjacent to content that you might have observed and enjoyed. And so in doing so, they've avoided the challenge that arises when they assume I only like the things that I've watched in the past. So as you're out there building your own systems, whether they be to serve businesses or individual consumers, remember to avoid confirmation bias, we have to constantly be making hypotheses about what our audience might enjoy and testing those hypotheses so that our systems can understand the whole person of which we're trying to build a customer lasting relationship. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Authenticity in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. Next time, we'll tackle another kind of data bias. I look forward to talking with you soon.
Digital marketing agencies have a tough job. You have to stay on top of the latest marketing strategies for your clients and your agency. What if there was a way you could address both at the same time? Imagine your agency putting out content with greater quality and quantity. Envision bringing your clients a turnkey solution for one of B2B marketing's fastest growing media strategies, podcasting. You know all those clients asking for your help with their account-based marketing efforts? Picture being the first to bring them the idea of content-based networking, showing them the proven strategy for breaking into their most coveted accounts. Here's the concept. Sweetfish Media is looking to work with a limited number of innovative agencies interested in a new partnership model. We produce a podcast for your agency. You introduce the power of podcasting and Sweetfish services to your clients. Everybody wins. Learn more at sweetfishpartners.com.